All right, getting started on everything, guys. I hope you enjoyed the last podcast. We're really excited to have Julia Maki coming on this one. Before we get into everything, you've heard us talk about CBD, and Ned is doing amazing things. CBD has become extremely popular in the past year. At this point, the past few years, making it more and more difficult to navigate and choose the right company and product. You see it everywhere you go. That's where Ned comes in. They produce the highest quality, full spectrum CBD extracted from organically grown hemp plants, all sourced from an independent farm in Paonia, Colorado. Ned is a wellness brand offering science-backed and nature-based solutions that offer an alternative to prescription and over-the-counter drugs, zero isolates, zero synthetic ingredients, full transparency, as you can see right on their website. And I should actually throw out there, they have a new product coming out, which I am not allowed to talk about. They've been working on all different sorts of things. I guess I'm not allowed to say anything. I'll say this. I do take ZMA before bed. And if you know what's in ZMA, I mean, it's awesome. It'll be something in that realm. I think people like it. Of course, they have the Sleep Blend as well, which they're doing great on and just doing all sorts of new things. I know you've been taking it consistently. Even on the last podcast, you were saying CBD is like your go-to thing.
Yeah, I'm taking the CBD. I still take it at night now. I just try to figure it out, but night's usually the best time, and it calms me down, and I sleep well. So, I mean, if you need the extra kick, go ahead and get the sleepy time oil, I call it. But once you get leveled out, I think you just consistently stay on CBD, and once a day. That's all you really need. Once you get yourself where you need, and you'll feel it. You'll understand where you need to be when you're at that place that you feel good and comfortable. And it helps me sleep. Like my wife will tell you, it's really been a game changer in our lives because it's leveled me out, and we're now I'm a functional human being within the household and a functional husband again. So check them out, guys. It's worth it. And again, they're great people out there. And living and growing up around Paonia, I know that they're just salt of the earth people, and it's a salt of the earth farm with my family still living in the Western Slope there. It's a good company. It's a company that you should support. And they also have tremendous products, and they're always just putting new stuff out there.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, from them getting started with us a year ago, it was originally, 3 products or so, and now they're really expanding. So Ned products contain a minuscule amount of THC, less than 0.3% as allowed by law. We like to throw that in there. If you need to take a drug test or anything, just be aware of that. But of course, they have the body butter and that stuff too that you can take. And if you want to check out Ned and try their CBD or any of their products for yourself, we have a special offer for the podcast audience. Go to helloned.com/Battleline or just enter the code Battleline at checkout. You're going to get 15% off your first one-time order or 20% off your first subscription order plus free shipping. That's helloned.com/Battleline to get 15% off your first one-time order or 20% off your first subscription order plus free shipping. Thank you, Ned. And as always, Fort Scott Munitions is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that is designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as direct online through fortscottmunitions.com. Use the exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. Only available to listeners of the Battleline podcast. This audience they're up on things.
Yeah.
They know more than anyone what's going on with ammunition in the country, what's going on at Walmarts across the country. So stock up now. Now is the time. Do it online, fortscottmunitions.com. Use the promo code Battleline. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but yeah, this is they've been doing great work for as long as they've been with us.
I just quickly they're catching up on the 9mm orders and the 5.56 orders, guys. Which is if you're an avid shooter, you know those are the most common rounds that we use in the U.S. But whether it be an everyday carry weapon or just a weapon that you go and teach on the range or you shoot on the range. So if you put an order in, look at their site, make sure you're checking out the delivery time so you're not shocked if it takes a couple months. But I do know they're starting to catch up on those, and I call them those common caliber common caliber ammunition types. So yeah, get with them, check them out, and you won't be sorry carrying that ammunition. Best ammunition out there.
Awesome. All right, let's get right into everything.
From Omaha, Nebraska to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Chris Tonto Peranto.
Twitch is on. Motherfucker, I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
Ian Scotto.
Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battleline podcast.
The switch is on. Battleline podcast. Chris finally has the same mic that I have, the Rode USB, and that's why you sound awesome this episode. And we are now, this week, we'll be celebrating 1 year of Battleline podcast and Veterans Day, of course. More importantly.
Has it been one year already?
1 year, man, because the launch was Veterans Day, 11/11.
That's right. Yeah, coming up to it. Who knew? Well, thank you for everybody out there that listens and made sure that we got another year in. Hopefully we'll get another one after this, man.
I would hope so.
Well, we will. We'll do another year. Then we'll see after that, because then I'm going to be 51. Man, and I'm probably going to need my naps around 11 o'clock, brother, on Fridays. That's going to be my old man nap time. But yeah, it's going to be great. And then Veterans Day is coming up, so all you out there, just enjoy yourself, and especially veterans out there. We'll say it. Actually, we'll have another. No, we won't. I won't be able to talk to them before Veterans Day. Well, for all you veterans out there, again, don't go down the doldrums. Just live your day and celebrate the lives that you were able to live, and celebrate those that were with you, even if they're not here with us anymore, because that's what they want you to do. That's what your brothers in arms will always want you to do, is celebrate that day, celebrate their lives. So stay out of the doldrums, guys, and enjoy yourself. And if some civilian says Happy Veterans Day, they don't know. Just
Happy Veterans Day is fine. I feel like Happy Memorial
Day. You're right, bro. I just
feel like Veterans Day is happy.
I got to throw that out there. I just got to, because there's grouchy guys, man. Grouchy man. So if they do and you get offended, don't. I don't. But you can.
Why would you get offended though? Because I get it for Memorial Day, we're celebrating the fallen, but Veterans Day, we're celebrating you guys still with us.
I never get offended, but you just never know, man. You just never know. But it's well said. I couldn't say it any better than Ian just said it right there. I'm just putting it out for you grouchy gusses, because we are grouchy old man. Like I said, 51. I'm almost 51. I'm getting grouchier every day. It's just natural. I think it's in the gene pool. Just if you're a veteran, every year you get a little bit grouchier until you turn into Clint Eastwood sitting on the porch saying, get off my lawn, you whippersnappers, you little clump snatchers.
Get off my lawn.
Listen, old man.
I said get off my lawn now.
I'm not gonna say it again. Go in the freaking house.
I go in that house after I've blown a hole in your head, and I sleep like a baby.
I'm not gonna say it again.
Shut up.
But no, guys, I'm proud of all your services out there, and all your service out there. And yeah, I will say it. Happy Veterans Day, because you deserve to be recognized. Every one of you that served and sacrificed.
Yeah, man. I this past Memorial Day, I will say, I was disappointed we didn't get to do the Memorial Day air show here, which is every year and is such a really cool celebration.
Yeah, it is.
Getting to see whether it's the Blue Angels or the Air Force, it's just amazing seeing what those guys do. The Air Force Thunderbirds, right?
Thunderbird. Yep, Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just awe inspiring. No matter if air shows are the coolest things in the world, they are. They're just in there, and you get to meet some of the old World War II veterans that show up. You'd be surprised how many of the old hats, the old guys that show up that the greatest generation, and they were, and they are, because they knew how to suck it up, man. They were some tough SOBs. Couldn't hold a candle, a lot of those guys. And they always are at the air shows or functions like that. So not having it, I'm sure. And I've never been to one out in New York. So
you would dig it, man.
I bet it's just tremendous. I bet it's
last year was actually the first time I went to the whole thing. I feel like every year I go, I gotta go, and then I miss it. And then last year I was like, I am not missing it this year. Woke up super early, went to the beach, and it's just I will say it's an all around patriotic event, like not partisan, not political, just patriotic. Getting to see like military recruiters out there doing their pull-ups, like the Marine recruiters. And it was cool. I mean, I always have like a vivid memory of stuff like this. And I remember being on the boardwalk and they were playing Lee Greenwood, proud to be an American. And I remember looking out at the crowd, very diverse crowd. And I just remember seeing this black kid, probably young teenager, singing the words. And I was kind of like, I would never even think anyone 13 or 14 even knows this song. And it was cool to see that it like people still, because it's a great song that people still, and I know there are those out there who'll be like, oh, it's cheesy. I don't feel that way at all. No. I think that's a song that kind of brings a tear to your eye when you hear it.
No, it's not cheesy, especially if you've served. And, if you do feel that way, then you need to get out to an air show. You need to get out to one of those patriotic functions and see the diversity that's out there and see the kids, see the little kids. I love taking my kids out because they just go crazy, run around seeing the jets and looking, and you see how awe-inspired they are at that age, which I was too when I went to the plane graveyard. I think it was is it Arizona? It's always portrayed in the movies, but I was a young kid going to that and seeing all those airplanes and seeing the B-52s. It doesn't even matter if they were flying or not, just staying around them. It inspires you and it makes you proud. It makes you proud to live in this country. And honestly, I couldn't say for sure, but I could probably guess that when I saw those things there, that was pushing me to go serve, even though I was probably 4 or 5 at the time. but it does say, man, I live in a great country. And then you go play and you run around and you eat some hot dogs because there's always hot dogs or some sort of easy barbecue out there. And it is. There's no politics out there at all. And that's how it should be. That's how it always should be. So if you haven't been to an air show or a veterans event at an air base or an Army base or a Marine base, or go to it, because you're going to see all sorts of ethnicities, diverse and all sorts of people with different political stances that don't care. You don't bring it up. It's not part of being in the service, and it shouldn't be part of being in the service. I think a lot of the service members need to kind of step out of politics, kind of like I did, which you got into it. Shouldn't do it. Let's back out because we're serving regardless, of whoever's in office. We're serving because we love this country. And that's what it feels like at the air show. So seeing that would have been cool. You should have videoed that. I mean, that kind of stuff would go viral.
Maybe, you could probably find, I bet if you look up Jones Beach Air Show,
probably see it.
Yeah, I know you're saying like certain moments, but just in general, you'll find it. It was just cool to see. Also, by the way, you were like saying hot dogs. I'll sound very bougie here because I remember it. There was a there was a truck with lobster rolls. I did indulge in a lobster roll, Connecticut style, which is the one with the hot butter, not the mayo.
Oh man, you got gut trucks out there, and it doesn't matter anymore. You got all sorts of I call them gut trucks. In the military, that's what we used to call them. The gut truck's coming, and it would have everything on there that you could get fat on. So, hey, there's no problem, bourgeois in New York. but I bet in different parts of the country, though, you'd have different kind of food trucks out there. So Nebraska.
Yeah, I think they have everything. Yeah, they have a whole lot. I do remember, this has happened to me on occasion. I don't know if it was that I had like my Oakley bag with the patches on it or something, or I may have been wearing like some camo. some guy was like, "Did you serve in the military?" And of course, I have to be like, "No," But every now and again, I get that. I don't know why. There's been times at the gym, people are like, "You have the look of someone who served in the military." I'm like, "Can't say I have." But like, I get to talk to a lot of cool guys who have, but I have not done anything.
It's your haircut, man. It's your haircut, and if you're doing push-ups, it's your shoulder. You got the push-up around his shoulders from doing push-ups and working out all the time. And
I think it could be the tactical, like Oakley bag with the Battleline tactical patches.
Yeah, that could be it, man.
And the Tonto Tribe patch. I got them both on there.
Dude, that's have you been going to the gym? Has your gym still been open? You have to drive away.
Yes, so I'm training people again. Yeah, in
wow.
At Blank in Hicksville, and then I'm also training myself at UFC gym. The masks and all that are mandatory, and it is kind of crazy because like one guy I'm training just texted me and he's like, "Hey, just to let you know, my business partner got COVID, so I'm not going to come back for another couple weeks." I'm like, "Thank you for letting me know." But overall, things are getting at least somewhat back to normal. As long as we don't have another lockdown of some sort again, I'm happy. I definitely learned from all this. I don't think you feel the same way. This is how I feel. I am not as much of an introvert as I thought I was. I think 10 years ago I was. And then through the lockdown, I was like, I need to have some interaction because I've said it on the podcast, like just to be honest, I make more doing my voiceover stuff than training people. But for me, if I'm in front of a computer all day, every day for 7 days a week, I'm like, I need to get out of the house. I need to talk to some people. And now that I'm doing that, even last night, I did a yoga class. Like, I like being around people doing. Yeah, yoga is, and this yoga teacher that does it every Thursday night, actually at UFC gym, which is funny because it's UFC gym. You see like these jacked guys and like the females who are like pretty ripped too. It's not your typical yoga class, I feel like. But the woman doing it every Thursday is like an older woman. And I'm way more into it because she goes very slowly through everything. It's way more about the stretching and holding the poses. Some of these like younger teachers, I can't keep up with it. And I'm like, I'm not here to be the greatest at yoga. I'm here to like make sure I don't get injured.
And that's what the stretching and fantastic flexibility. That's what keeps you limber and keeps the injuries away. And I can tell you that for a fact, just from being able to continue to run. When I don't stretch enough, or I don't do the proper stretches, my back goes out. And you got to keep that flexibility. And having an instructor, again, that's where the ego, you got to get as an instructor, you have to remove that ego. There are times when you need to pick it up and you tell, hey, we're going to speed up here. But most of the time, slow it down because that builds the confidence especially of somebody that's a novice. And the firearms, man, we have that issue in firearms as well. You got instructors that have to show how much they know. I hate that shit. I know. Just shut up. All right, let's go work out. Let's go train. And then you train, and then you speed up, then you slow down. You speed up and slow down. And a good instructor, which it sounds like your instructor is, from the way she does it, knows that. But you said she's an older instructor. She probably has learned that over time, which I have as well. Yeah,
I was even talking to her before the class, and she was asking how long I've been doing yoga. And I'm like, on and off a few years. And she's like, oh, I've been, I asked her, she's like, I've been doing this 25 years. So I'm sure she knows what she's doing.
Oh, hell yeah. And you see that. And as someone like yourself, you notice that right off the bat. Like, man, she's a good instructor. Not because she knows everything and she wants everybody to know that she knows everything, which is what we have with a lot of firearms instructors. It's that she takes the time to teach the little stuff. And but I guarantee you, if she needed to get busy and start going quick, she could probably knock your dick in the dirt. Let's get after it. But she's a good instructor, and and that's something that you learn as an instructor. If you're able to put your ego aside, you learn that, and when to speed up, when to slow down, and when that it's beneficial to, which is the majority of the time, to be methodical in your instruction, which is 90% of the time, it's best to be methodical. This, that 10%, you got to pick it up a little bit because you're got to make those improvements, especially when you start to plateau. So yeah, it's good to hear, man. And yoga's awesome. I used to do what was the damn with the reformer machines? Those dang, oh man, that was like torture, but I loved it. Pilates.
Okay. They're very similar from what I know.
Yeah. It's you do Pilates and the stretching similar, but then you get on the machines in Pilates and they are tremendous strength machines. I just haven't been able, I'm not a member of a gym anymore. I have a nice gym at my house, so I haven't done Pilates in a while.
See, there you go. That's the difference between me and you. You don't miss the camaraderie of being around people. I like that.
But if I was single, I probably would. You know, I have my family. When you have a family and 3 kids, yeah, the last thing you want to do is probably go out and be around, because you do get the stuff that you need here. But yeah, you know, though, but I can't say that when I was single that I didn't every once in a while need to get out. When I was in college and grad school, yeah, I didn't hang out with Tanya, which was my girlfriend at the time, which is my wife now. But yeah, you do. You got to have that interaction. I'm an introvert now, but again, remember, I'm 50 and have lived a pretty damn full life that I want to be home now. But yeah, you're to say, when I was even in my 30s, and there were times I just needed to get out, and I loved the gym. I did. I loved just right now. Now I don't. Now I'm like, I'm good at home. I'm good going running outside. I'm good at going and working out downstairs, but I don't need to go to a gym. But to say that that's abnormal for someone to want to is obviously not right. I loved the gym back when I was single. That's where I would go hang out. So yeah, that's normal. I just never did yoga then, but I should have. I think, man, I should have. So
it's all, and also, like, you know, you're in the same boat here, but as you said, it's different for you. But I don't drink or any of that, so like I don't get my social life out of going to bars. I kind of like seeing people at the gym. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen you in a few months, and catching up with them. And the gym I go to, it's like it's everyone, man. There's like police officers you'll see there, and athletes, and you just end up like forming friendships with these people. But anyway, time flies by every time we do this intro. We already got to get to Julia Maki. So before we do, as we mentioned earlier, Fort Scott Munitions are the best, and they are a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did their TUI tumble upon impact ammo outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results every time you pull that trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in every state, as well as direct online through fortscottmunitions.com, FORTSCOTTMUNITIONS.com. Use our exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order. Only available to our listeners of the Battleline podcast. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline podcast.
What's up there, Julia? What's happening?
Not much. What were you saying? Were you saying bad things?
We're saying about you. You suck. You're terrible. Why do we even? No, of course we didn't say that. Are we going to?
Julia is a wedding singer reference. That's a great movie.
Adam Sandler still makes the best movies. He had the best Halloween movie called a Doobie. What was it called? Doobie Halloween or something like that. It was awesome. He still makes like movies on. I think they're going Netflix. So if you don't have Netflix because of the pedophilia,
I genuinely did cancel after that.
Yeah. I mean, but Doobie Halloween, it's still true Adam Sandler. And he had another one that was a knockoff of the Hateful Eight, or was it called the Hateful Six? What was the Quentin Tarantino? He did a knockoff off that one with Rob Schneider. I mean, he always has the same actors in his movie. It was freaking hilarious. So if you get a chance to see any Adam Sandler movies, Doobie Halloween or the Hateful, I think it was called the Hateful Eight or something like that. And but anyway, Julian.
I was like, we have to give him a formal introduction. She's like, what the hell is this? So for the audience, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. Julia is a Navy veteran and author, more recently serving in the D.C. Air National Guard. Several books, many of which are children's books, talking about military service and kind of giving kids a perspective on being able to learn what it is that you guys, both of you, have done. But the newest ebook, which is coming out this week as people hear it, November 12th, is Guardians, Stories of the 2020 Civil Unrest in Washington, D.C. Awesome to have you on and get into this.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
We're both excited. You were someone that Chris was like, we have to get on. I think before we even get into this book itself, which is extremely important, it'd be cool that people hear about your background, because seeing those books, I think there's a huge demand for books for kids to learn about what it is their parents have done who have served. And there's not a lot of people writing them. So it's cool that you took it upon yourself to say, let's get these out there.
Yeah, that was my goal. That's kind of what inspired me, was writing for my own children. I did 5 years in the Navy. Go Navy. Where I was combat aircrew, and it was a rate that had just been opened up to women a million years ago now. And so that was quite an adventure. Got out of my small town, saw the world, flew on P3 aircraft, P3 Charlies, fighting or not fighting, but hunting submarines during peacetime, and keeping track of everything. We did everything from overland intelligence, gathering information, to counter narcotic operations. So that's where I began. And when I got out after a tour of duty, because I had met my husband, wanted to have a family. So I wrote my first children's book, which was My Mom Hunts Submarines. So that just talked about everything that we did. And my whole inspiration for writing that book was basically to say, there isn't anything you can't do, because that's the message I want to convey to my kids. And so that led to the next book, which led to the next. I wrote All Hands on Deck, Dad's Coming Home, for children that have parents that are deployed. After that, I wrote Still My Dad, which is about the physical disabilities of wounded veterans, as the children have to adapt to that, as well as the parents. So this was kind of a way to talk about it for the kids, break it down. And then my final children's one was From the Sky, which is about everything that I saw from the sky. And what inspired that one was when I was flying and realized that a rainbow was a complete circle. I could look down on the ground and see the bottom of the rainbow. And just how different everything from flying was, the perspective there. So then when I got out, I ended up writing a book about all of my different adventures in the military. Now, this was the adult version of all that. Don't let your kids read that.
It's okay. The kids read 13 hours, and I drop F-bombs all the time. So you're good. You're good. You see this? You see how she talks, though? See the light? This girl can has a potty mouth. It's the funniest thing, too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The kids' books, and she's dropping F-bombs like a ranger. It's hilarious. But we'll get into that later. We'll talk.
I have an image.
I'm sorry. Sorry, publisher. Sorry about your publisher out there. Sorry about that. What's your publisher's name again?
Tactical.
Yeah,
16.
so like they're gonna. That was leading you to that. Actually, they're gonna care if you swear. Tactical 16 publisher. But go ahead. Keep going with the adult book. I like to hear about it.
Okay, the adult version books. Yeah. Basically, that was everything that I did in the military. Started off with just a compilation of funny stories, hard stories, going through like SEER school stories, and in a time where it was all new to have women there and the adventures, I guess, that we had along the way. They just weren't equipped to have us. We were flying on P3s, which were built in the 50s for a crew of all men. Seriously, they had to stand up.
As I was saying, how did you pee? That's what I want to know. I want to know, and our listeners want to know. How do you pee? Did you have to pee standing up, or did they put it? Tell us how that worked. I gotta know how they work. I never asked you that.
Okay, so I had to take off the top, and then I would have to, because I'm super short, I would have to hang from the ceiling kind of over the top of it. And meanwhile, our pilots are being
I know.
jerks and stuff, anytime they knew we were in there to mess with us. But yeah, so good times. But now the successor, the P8, has sit-down flushable toilets. So women nowadays, they don't know how good they have it.
You know what, though? I tell you what, men, and don't think that men are appreciative of having a sit-down toilet in their, because that is like the throne. Like, oh my gosh, I got to sit down and relax for a little bit.
Oh, but you don't do that on the plane. Like, if you do that, you owe a case of beer to the whole crew.
Well, then I'd be going to a case of beer, because I'd be sitting down on the throne. Like, eat shit, guys. Literally, I'm sitting down on the throne and enjoying my time, sitting here relaxing for 5 minutes.
Oh my God.
But that's amazing. And I getting into that too, because SEER school is no joke. Then did you go through it? Would the one at Fairchild, the one out in Spokane?
No, actually, mine was up in Maine, up in Rangeley, in the mountains up there. So,
what time of year was it when you went?
It was April, so there was still snow on the ground up there. I did get cold weather survival training with that. Yeah, that was crazy. We were going to.
Yeah, tell a little bit about that, because even just because we get a lot of listeners that are young that want to go in, and I think it's beneficial on both sides how you overcame, because your school's no joke, and what you did to prepare for it, if you anything, and then maybe your worst experience there, that how you got through it.
Well, it all kind of was. It was the best worst training I've ever had. That's what I always describe it as, because I have no, I hope I never have to do anything like that again, God forbid. But geez, you learn so much about yourself and how you'd handle the pressure and stuff. And ours was a week long. We went up there went up there on a Thursday through Sunday, and it was survival training. And that's where they taught us how to hunt. Now, granted, it was wintertime. There weren't little bugs or animals out at that time, or, vegetation of any sort. Okay, here's one of my crappy stories. Think about it, or funny or crappy. I don't know, all of it. So we were learning how to catch and make rabbit stew. So from the very beginning. So he has this nice little rabbit, right? And we're all sitting around, it's so cute and fluffy. And we're all sitting around this kind of stage, almost classroom-like setting. And I realized I was front and center. And I quickly realized this is not where I wanted to be when this was going to go down. So I just discreetly tried to make my way to the side of the room, the back a little bit, without being noticed. And of course, all the guys are like, "Oh, Julia, you have to move. Is it too much for you?" I'm like, just leave me alone, okay? And meanwhile, the instructor goes on. He's petting his little rabbit and just chatting like no big deal. All of a sudden, whips that rabbit around, smashes the head on a block, and blood goes splattering all over to everybody in the audience, their faces in that front row. And I was like, that's why I moved. So it was a little satisfying at that point, because they were all like, oh,
That's all. So did you have to kill a rabbit at all? Did you get one? Did you smash its head? You did. Just say you did. You have to eat. You got to eat. That's it. You got to do it.
I cut vegetables. No, if I had to, I would have. I didn't have to that day. So, you do what you got to do.
Well, and that's it. That's part of the training. But that's over the top. That's an instructor really going over the top, because, but
the whole thing is, shocking you into all these different situations. Taking kids plucked from the city and throwing them up on a mountaintop, and hey, go survive.
You got to increase the stress. You got to do stressful. You got to make those adrenaline levels spike continually up and down, because eventually you're going to need how to handle that stress, right. Which I don't know. I didn't mean to segue into it, but it kind of is a good lead into it. How you handle what you did in DC, which we definitely want to talk about.
That gets into the okay. So fast forward 15 years later, after I got out of the Navy, had all my kids, and they're all 3 teenagers right now. So I have all these gray hair, but 3 teenagers. So they were they're older, more independent now, and I'm just missing that adventure, that sense. I think that missing feeling, like I want to go back. I want to serve a little bit more. I don't think I was done yet,
Yeah. Yep.
No, tricky, because I have a day job that I just love. I do foreign military sales on the P-8 aircraft for the UK. So love it. Great.
That's pretty cool.
That is.
It is cool. And I work with an amazing team of people too. So I think that really makes it awesome. But so anyways, I did this weird, we had some family talks and stuff, and I do a little bit of flashback of that in the book, so you can kind of get a feel of where I'm coming from on all this. So I re-enlisted and joined the Air National Guard. So now I'm Air Force.
Well, why did you? Was that because it was closer to where your home base was, or why did? Because you could have went to the there's guard units or reserve units in the Naval Reserve, and you're in Northern Virginia. You're still in that area, aren't you?
Southern Maryland. But I do drill up in the northern part of it. Andrews, during the Andrews.
Yeah. Yep. So why did you pick the Air Force then?
Well, I initially wanted to get back into fly, and they had some billets in the a flight attendant, military flight attendant, flying around congressmen and politicians and stuff like that. But as things picked up and got busier, I'm in airfield management right now. Haven't decided where I'm going to go next with that. But point being, so I'm airfield manager, or management, part of the team that's looking after everything, making sure the flight lines are cleaned up and lit up and everything's running smoothly, right?
So did you? I just have to ask, when you said flying around politicians and stuff, did you have to interact? Do you have any like crazy stories?
Well,
Are you one of these? Because I feel like Chris knows this. I feel like all the people I've met in Secret Service will have horror stories about like the Clintons. All of them that I've met.
Well, I never got to that point yet.
Okay.
That'll be for the next book, maybe. Tell all books of the politicians, right?
Nice.
But anyway, so yeah, that was the crazy part of this whole evolution. You know, they recruited us air guards. I mean, Army guards went in first, and they needed more people. So then they send in the air guards, and we're like, what are we doing? No, we had great people that were trained, but I guess I should say I was like, what am I doing?
Well, and that's what with your book, just when you explain, and it makes me giggle, because it's whenever you see somebody come in that's new and is putting on the body armor or putting on all the gear, and they don't like, really, I didn't sign up for this. And it makes me laugh because I can see your face and I can see you putting on this stuff, and it's heavy, is it?
Yeah, it's like 80 pounds or something. Just the vest itself.
You're in a ruck, or you're not. I mean, it just the way, I don't people understand until you actually put it on. Then it becomes a part of you. Right. Then you're like a turtle. It's your shell.
Yeah.
I'm used to it.
And the thing is, we were thrown into it so fast because everything just happened so quickly, and so we're just kind of being herded through these supply lines, getting our gear late Sunday night, and the guy's like, "What size bulletproof vest are you?" And I'm like, well, I've never been asked that before. I'm
30 across the chest. I mean, long 42. It's.
I don't
you're
know
going.
proof's the best size.
And you know, I don't want you to tell everything that in your story, but some of that stuff is quite hilarious, because it's like going through an assembly line.
Yeah.
Going through that what was it called? CIF, the Central Issuing Facility. Yeah. And give your experience in that, because I think people that are going in need to experience that. And you had already been in, but going through CIF is a common occurrence, especially if you're going in infantry or combat arms, because you have to go through that simulation, and it's so impersonal. It is. It's like stripes. Mm-hmm. Here, take it, go. All right, you wear what? I don't give a shit. Here, take an extra large. You look like an extra large.
Yeah.
So that was hilarious, and I want you to, if you can, talk a little bit about that, because that was tremendous in the book. It brought back memories to me.
Well, and that was, I guess, my little thing of it there, but it was just we don't deal with this gear very often, and here we are getting gas masks and filters and the bulletproof vest thing. I had no idea how to assemble it. I didn't know how to put it on. The guy's like, you got to pull this, you got to whip this and put this over here and snap this, and yeah, you're good to go. That's all you have to do. I'm like, whoa, what?
Where did this go?
Yeah, so it was starting from fresh. I don't mean to sound so naive to it, but this is just not what I do for a normal job. So I guess that was the entertaining factor of it all. I mean, there were so many things in my story, my book as well, that there were the hard moments, the ugly moments. It was very awakening. And then, I'm just pretty awkward of a person anyway. So throwing me out on the streets with all this, I didn't know what I was doing. So there's some funny stories in there too, probably.
And I think this goes to probably the most important reason to really have you on with this current book, is that we've heard so many different stories from third parties of what went on at the rioting, whether it's in DC or more recently Philadelphia. That's why I really value when I get to talk to guys who I know in the NYPD, and I say, like, hey, what happened? So from your perspective, what was it like out there?
Yeah, well, and that is why I wanted to write the book, because I was hearing so many different things in the news that wasn't happening out there. I had friends asking me, like, is this happening? Is this not? What is going on? So my my disclaimer, I don't know what's happening across the country, but I can tell you exactly what I saw on the streets of DC during those 2 weeks. And we were thrown together with every federal entity that you can imagine. We had the FBI, we had the DEA, the drug DEA.
Yeah, we got.
It's so dyslexic, So
Nothing like a dyslexic author, book writer.
no. Even worse with numbers, but don't. But yeah, so those guys, the SORT team, Special Operations Response Team, and there definitely is a pecking order with that too. I was like, oh, FBI, they're so badass, and then I met the SORT team, and they blew everybody out of the water. These are the guys that break up prison riots. That's what they're trained to do, and then the Secret Service. So we were thrown in there when they were the Secret Service were the only people, and the Metro Police obviously were the only people there that first crazy night, just being taken over almost, as they're lighting things on fire. So that's when they started sending, Army guys in, and as it went on. So those are the first 2 nights that were the craziest. And then ours was just, by the time I got there, it was Sunday night, and we were on monument duty that night. Different nights we'd do checkpoints in the streets and just maintain order as much as possible. We were a presence, more or less, and we weren't armed. We were always with somebody that was. The police were, of course, and the DEA and all those guys. They carried the big guns. But yeah, so everybody's like, oh, there's all this armed military out there, and rumors flying about all this stuff.
Yeah.
We were just invading their city, and but I mean, really, it was our city, too. A lot of the guys that I serve with live right in DC, and so it was conflicting too. So you got a little bit of, you have the crazy, you have the conflicting emotional parts of it all, because you support some of these causes too. I mean, nobody thought what happened to George Floyd was okay. I mean, there was nothing okay about the way he died, but the way it was handled from that point on was just crazy, out of control, in my opinion.
I agree. It was turned into something awful. Was turned into a political movement, and people, because we watch too much of the media, and I know the media doesn't tell the truth. I've been part of that's why I wanted you on, because I know for a fact that the media doesn't tell the truth and will spin it one way or the other too. And people are sheep enough to get riled up by it. Yeah. So having somebody like yourself see it out there, and then also you live there, what's going on in the area. You're a subject matter expert for Northern Virginia, for DC, because you reside there and you work there and you're on the streets. It puts a lot of perspective on it, and people are going to listen to you or not, but you were there. You're telling the truth because that's what you saw. Mm-hmm. And knowing that none of you were armed. I mean, because that is something that's huge. Was the media was good. Yeah, they said military presence, military. No, we weren't armed. We weren't armed at all. And you weren't. And you had gear that you didn't even know how to use, even if you were armed on. So, and you were watching people destroy the city that you love, that you live.
Yeah.
If I could jump in here, because I want to make sure we actually ask this, is how did it feel not to be armed? I mean, because just because you're not armed, and just because, as we know, the gun laws in DC are, so strict, it's not going to stop anyone from bringing a gun. It's not going to stop anyone from throwing a rock at you or a number of things, Molotov cocktails. I mean, what was going through your mind that you didn't have, although you were surrounded by people, as you said, who were armed? How did it feel to be out there with nothing?
Yeah, so that was definitely a concern in a couple moments. So for the majority of the time, like I said, I was with people that were armed. And so I felt very safe with them. However, I remember the first night when we were actually 5 of us. Well, okay. The big group of us started off at the Washington Monument. Yeah. And we had a huge amount of people there. And at some point in the night, our commander said, hey, you 5, go down to the MLK Monument or Memorial. And so we broke off. We went down there, and eventually the FBI came down there. So we were hanging out, guarding there, which MLK was probably one of the safest places to be, really. But maybe not, maybe anything could happen. We were just doing everything from being destroyed or who knows what. So we were there, I want to say probably around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, the FBI is like, well, we're going home. We've been called off duty. Everything's pretty quiet and stuff. And we're like, oh, okay, bye. Meanwhile, we had, because it was the first night for us, and there was so much craziness with all the logistics of the transportation, getting us in and out. And there were just so many people that transportation had to pick up. We were stuck there for, gosh, into the wee hours of the morning. And there were just 5 of us, unarmed, sitting at this memorial thing. And I'm like, I wouldn't do this on a normal day. Like, why am I out here right now? So there were moments where I'm like, this is a little creepy.
But you're looking out there. Was it a clear night? And I picture the night and the environment. Was it a clear night? Was it? I mean, and if it was, were you able just to sit back and? Because that's what I do. I would have just sat back and looked at the stars and just tried to enjoy. Because you're right. Who would normally be out there at that time? But I'm here. Oh my gosh, let's experience this. Because I'll probably never want to come back out at 5 a.m. to a monument again because I want to sleep.
Right.
But seeing the sun come up, seeing the stars and the moon, or even if you have clouds come in, what was your feelings out there when you were sitting there?
That's a huge point to bring up because, initially it was such chaos and they had the helicopters flying and you had sirens and you heard all this constantly going on. And that was the night they implemented the 7 o'clock curfew, actually. So by that time, by the 1 o'clock in the morning time, 2 o'clock, it was entirely peaceful. The water right there next to the basin, oh my gosh, it was beautiful. And I'd never been to that memorial because it's a newer one. I think maybe 5. Well, I don't even want to say it's newer. Misquote my information here. Anyway, so it was just such a calm, serene night. In fact, one of the times where I was walking to the bathroom because 18-hour shifts or whatever. and trying to find that every point that we were at was always a challenge too, especially during this weird COVID time where everything's shut down. There's that whole mix of everything.
And it was summertime too. You were hot. You were all that shit, and you were body armor, and it was humid out there. You were probably. I'm surprised none of you got heat casualties. Were dehydration.
We were so hot, and it only got hotter as the week went on. But by the evenings, though, thankfully they did cool down. That's why you're right. It was like so nice at night. And so when I was walking past, I did have a couple of those really neat moments where. I looked out over at the reflecting pool because I had to go around to where the police bathroom station was or whatever to use that. And that's actually where I looked and it was so calm and it was like that kind of bluish hint to it. Yeah. And I took that picture that ended up being the cover of the book of the reflecting pool because I'd never seen it so peaceful before with no people out there and just a beautiful hue in the air or in the sky. There was no filter on that cover and just
that's
perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
crazy to see, that difference between total chaos to peace. It's one thing I was wondering, I wanted to hear your perspective on is for all of these, both protests and riots, the two groups you always hear about are really Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Yeah. But one thing that I don't think gets discussed much, and my friend Derek Gannon, who we've had on here, former Green Beret, a journalist, he covered a lot of the stuff that was going on in Portland while he was living in Portland. And then we also talked about the Baltimore situation that happened. And I'd like to hear what you think about it. Derek has said from things that he's seen, a lot of the Black Lives Matter protest would be relatively peaceful. And then when Antifa would get involved, that's when things would get violent. Did you see that?
Yes. Now, I couldn't entirely pick out Antifa. I didn't specifically see that myself where I was. But there was you could tell where there were the ones that were very influenced by that group and wherever they were being influenced. In the streets, the protests, and our entire job there was to protect the peaceful protesters and the city from the not peaceful ones. So there was such a mix of both. there were the people that when we were standing on the streets, they would come up to us, be safe tonight. You know, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. And then there were the people that said all kinds of things. I mean, everything you can think of, you know, the stuff that you see them like yelling at the cops. All of a sudden, we were associated with the police as well, of course. And
well, and I'll say you had one reading for the guy that came up on the bike that, and I'll say it, and but I wanted to hear how bad it was. They're saying he was going to rape you, and he was going to put his thing into places that he should, and that is, I think, to me, and you know, being your first time out there doing stuff like that, and I would have been the same way. It would have been a shock to my system as well, and I'm sure, like, holy shit. I would never think of that to you. And now just because I'm wearing this uniform, you're going to say that to me. And it's such a contradiction of what the protests were supposed to be about. And honestly, which side was taking it to the other side more so. And you really couldn't do anything. You had to stand there. And I mean, I guess you could have chased after him, but it was important that you handled it. You handled it, but the stuff that you had to go through was horse shit. And that is one action where I'd have been like the DEA guy. I'd have chased that son of a bitch down, and not because of a protective nature, because you just don't do that.
Yeah.
And you have to see things like that every day.
I think I was just shocked more than anything. So I didn't even react. I mean, just was not expecting stuff like that. And like I said, I was cringing as I was writing this. I'm like, I don't use words like this. I mean, I have, you know,
but you need to put it in there, because that is important, because that's what the media is not showing you. At least one side won't show you. The other side then will use that as a pushing tool to instill the other side into doing their other crazy movements. And that stuff you just told it. It's like, this is what happened. This is what I felt. Who gives a shit what either side of the media is going to say? Yeah. And that's what was important. Is that what people need to see? Like, hey, you're the good guy here. You're the one that's putting yourself on the line. You didn't ask to be on these streets. You didn't want to be here, but you're doing it because you love this country. You love that area. And here somebody comes up to you that's supposed to be, I guess, doing a peaceful protest, telling they're going to do all these awful things to you personally. It becomes personal. And that's hard not to control that anger. But being in shock, I guarantee you, though, if that ever happened to you again, you wouldn't be in shock. Just from experience, the shock would not be there. You'd be all right, but it's that first time going through it. So
and I mean, we really couldn't. We weren't supposed to react. I mean, you see those videos of people just yelling at the cops in their faces, and they're just stoic. And that was what my friend was always telling me: be stoic.
Talk about that, and talk about it. Was he he was a black supervisor, wasn't he, or a captain or sergeant, or what was he? I can't remember.
He's an Army lieutenant. And
you can say African American, but we're gender neutral, racial neutral. We just say whatever. But that was what got me as well, because I loved reading about that little bit there as well. And again, don't go into a ton of it, because I want people to read the book. But that's an important piece, being stoic, knowing when be nice until it's time not to be nice. From the great philosopher Patrick Swayze, who once said, "Be nice until it's time not to be nice."
That's a good one. Yeah.
I loved reading about that.
Yeah, that was. So he kind of, I don't know, took me under his wing, because apparently he's done this. He knows how. He was directed in traffic. He just had great leadership skills, and I don't even know what his past was, you know, like what his experience was before all this. But it's funny how, you know, you are thrown into these new people every night, different people that you're working with. By the end of the night, they're like your best friends practically, because you have such a strong bond. Well, I mean, the military and Department of Defense bonds anyway, you know, those DEA guys were awesome. But he was just like looking out. So anyway, as this stuff would happen and these people would just start saying stuff, and he was just like, you just have to be stoic. And I'm just like, I'm not good at being stoic. Like, I'm too cringy and awkward. But as they're yelling like right in your face, and I don't know. But I was really thankful to be surrounded with the people that I was during that time. I just learned so much from them. And that guy, I mean, I don't know if I'll ever see him again, but he put up with a lot. And that was, you know, if we go into it at all, the African-American people that I was with got it harder than everybody else. Like they had people yelling their African American people yelling at them, calling them Uncle Toms.
Well, their Uncle Tom, they feel like their uncle. It's bullshit.
And you have no idea. Like, I mean, I have one of my closest friends that I work with in my shop. I mean, it impacted him emotionally because it's like they're just assuming, you know, how they feel, and they're, you know, if you're not on the streets with them, you're against them. But it's like, no, like we feel these feelings too. We don't agree with what happened, but we're here to protect everybody. That's our job, not to stop, you know, progress and from happening. And I don't know. So
well, I think that again, the media with that, when they saw it, instead of focusing on which the problem was, which was police brutality, which at that time, and there still is a problem within it. The media used that, and the politicians used that to push this into a political statement that the whole everybody's racist. The whole, unless you're BLM or Antifa, you're racist. And if you're an African American, you're black, you're brown, you're yellow, and you're not part of that movement, then you're with all the white people because they're all racist because we say they are. And that was the experience that you got to see, that which isn't the truth. And that's why I want people to read that, because they're seeing that, especially in when you serve this country and you serve in the military, there's no color. I don't see that. You're just my teammate. You're my brother. You're my soldier next to me. You're my ranger buddy. You're my battle buddy. Yeah. And I hope people get to see that out of your book, just from the bad things that from this movement that was supposed to be all positive and change really was more of a, hey, you're just getting manipulated into helping someone win an election or lose an election or whatever. Yeah. And it wasn't really about improving this country. And it honestly, to me, from watching it and after reading what you experienced, because I don't watch the news, from somebody on the ground, it's like it wasn't progressive, it was regressive. We took steps back from this movement. And just from your experience. So I implore people to read your book. I want them to, because it's going to be an eye opener for those out there.
It's my glimpse. It was my perspective that I wanted to share, because it's something that, you know, it's not very common, and most people didn't see it from that side of things. Yeah. So I just wanted to like give that little taste, and there's so many other things going on in Minneapolis and Portland and all that too. But this was just a little bit of what I saw, and it did become, and I tried to write it. This was like the tricky part, to write it just almost as neutrally as I could. This is what happened, and you can form your own opinion from that. I'm not instilling mine at all. So people can kind of hopefully see it for themselves, I guess.
So this is Tonto's opinion that I'm putting out there whenever I talk. It's not Julia Mackie's opinion at all. But that's what I got out of reading that little bit. And being in riots, not in this country, but I've been in plenty of riots and stuff that were supposed to be riots that weren't. You know, I understand the emotions that can be involved, and whether different ideologies or the riots, or because of an election, there's a riots. And they can be scary, but you have to really be there to experience and know what's going on in the middle of them, than to watch it from afar and take your opinion from, especially from, which our media now is mainly propaganda. It really is. The mainstream. This is why it's great having those like yourself on the podcast, because you were there. You can tell us what happened, but you're so honest, and you say, well, this is just my little glimpse, forming your own opinion. Well, we will, but it's 100% accurate glimpse, because you're not writing it from a third person perspective. You're writing it from on the ground. I'm boots here, boots literally with the duck boots and the anti-riot things that you have to wear on your feet that probably extended 5 feet too far. You're going to trip over them. But
it's not size fits all.
Did you just threw those things off, right?
Yeah.
You didn't wear them. Yeah, they're worthless. Don't wear that. That's the stupidest shit. Whoever invented that needs to be put in jail. Those are ridiculous.
Yep.
But, no, sorry, Ian. I took over the conversation again, like I do. My bad.
No. It's all good. I was something that you said earlier when you're talking about the racial aspect. It was interesting because it echoes a lot of my friend Armando, who's NYPD, and you could assume is not a white guy. Armando, that's pretty sure? You know. Are you sure? But he was telling me the exact same thing. The thing from his perspective, and I don't know if you felt the same way. He said, like, even though they would get in my face, say all this terrible shit to me, he was like, you know what? I was able to take it. And I said, you know what? At least they're not damaging a building right now. They're not setting a police car on fire. So I'll deal with it.
Yeah. Yep. And the funny thing is, I like, you know how you kind of get by on the humor because you have to.
You have to.
And I know you've said
Yeah.
on a much higher scale, of course, much more danger there. But it is like when people are saying all these ridiculous things, you know, like people would yell, "What was your ASVAB score?" It's like,
how do you what? How do you?
Yeah. Anyway, just like any type of like little insults and stuff. But we just had to like, laugh about it amongst ourselves because it's so over the top. Sometimes it was just so ridiculous. That didn't make sense. And one of my favorite stories too, I touched on it just a little bit in the book because this was the other thing I'm kind of proud of. I had inputs from 5 of my other friends in the Guards. So just a few little paragraphs from each, so you see a little bit of a glimpse from other people that were there too. So it's not just mine entirely. So if I was over here and they were over there, you might get a little perspective from that. And they're from all walks of life as well. So one of my friends, he's the weather guy, and he was right out on the front lines himself. Hilarious guy. So he was every story he tells, it's freaking hilarious. And he was in like a lot of the crap. I mean, he had bleach thrown on his boots, and he's like, "Oh man, I just bought these."
Oh man, I just.
And one of the times he described they threw a water bottle, or well, I don't even know what was in it. You never know. Half the time they threw that up at them, and he watched it hit a tree branch and bounce right back at the person that threw it. It was satisfying.
It is. That is extremely satisfying. You don't say it's not. No, that's actually hilarious.
Like the guy who sets the American flag on fire
and catches himself on fire. That is so self-serving. Karma's a bitch. Stripper's name is Karma, man. I tell you what. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. It is, and it should be hilarious. Don't throw piss bottles at people that are trying to protect you. You dumbass. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And I guess we're in because we're coming up towards the end here and transitioning, and said I don't want to get too much into the book. We've talked about it quite a bit because I don't want people to not read it.
Okay.
I heard the podcast, but when it was all said and done, and you went home, or even at night when you went home, and it was, I know sometimes you said it was like 2-3 in the morning. And because we have people that are in relationships here, people that serve, of course, what was that like coming home? And did it, even though it's just those 2 weeks, I'm glad it was only those 2 weeks because I'm sure it would have affected you negatively if it would have been longer because it's just normal. That's just human nature. Yeah. But how did you handle that? And your kids were older, which was good, but with your husband and so forth, did that 2 weeks, did you have to adjust anything aside from your schedule to make sure that things were still good at home and that you didn't bring it home with you, which is a possibility all the time?
I don't think I was probably a great person to be around.
You're tired too. I mean, you're immensely tired, so that doesn't help.
I was so thankful for, I have the best support system. I mean, husband took care of everything. He's like, just go. I got this. Kids helped, everything. Cool. My village, I have the bestest of friends that they were one day, stuffing little goodie baggies for me to bring out there. A couple different groups of friends did that, just those little morale boosters. And then my work friends, I would be calling them, which is actually how it even kind of came about to this. My co-author that helped me was the one who kind of pushed me to write this because we were working together, and I'd call up on my way into the city because our job is pretty fast paced. And if we miss anything, you're so far behind. So I was like, what happened in that meeting? And, did I miss this? And did I miss this? I'm always have FOMO, fear of missing out, And he's like, what are you talking about? Just don't worry about any of that. Just head up on the streets. Like, this is crazy. All the stuff that you're doing, like, we'll take care of things here. Just go. And so I'd be debriefing almost during that. I had an hour drive, which was really helpful, actually, even if it was 4 o'clock in the morning on the way home. Like, that hour just was decompression time for sure. And then on my way up, that was my catch up time with whomever. I would call a different person every day, whether it was my coworkers, my friends, my mom, everybody. And wine and bubble baths.
Nice.
Nice. I would do wine too, but that causes bubbles somewhere else. I can't do wine. No, it's amazing. And your story's amazing. And being there, I honestly, when you said you were there, I was pissed because like, son of a bitch, you got to go there. I wanted to, because you do. You have that feeling to get back into it, and that was something that I would have wanted to experience. I wouldn't have pulled myself away from my family unless I was forced to go to it. But it's still something like, man, what an experience!
You would have had a
Well, you could have done what Gregory Wong did, right, and put on the
oh my
outfit
lord,
in San
yeah,
Francisco
and
and
know what?
pretend he was supposed to be there.
I have a feeling I wouldn't be able to pretend I was anybody, especially around a bunch of National Guard and police officers. They're like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Do you really think you would have been stoic, Chris? I mean,
hey, I would have had to been stoic all the time. I would have just been stoic.
You would have been punching them right back.
I would have punched him back. But I'm not going to be Mr. Tough Guy. I would have been overwhelmed. Believe me. I don't care how tough you are. 1 against 10 doesn't matter how bad you are, unless you're in a Chuck Norris movie. You're not going to win that fight. I don't care how tough you think you are.
I'm wondering from you being on the ground. I know Chris has said this is really like a police issue that they need to work out internally. Because although you were there, this isn't a problem with the Air Force. This isn't a problem with the military. It's an internal problem with police that needs to get settled.
And that's my opinion. That's my opinion. Just
for sure. So
that's my opinion.
That's why I'm kind of wondering your perspective on this, because luckily right now we haven't seen anything major post-election. I know we don't have the results and all that. I think on some level this is the media like trying to make something happen before it's even happened, because things are relatively okay other than what we saw in Philadelphia prior to the election. But yeah, do you have any ideas for solutions? Because this country is being torn apart. We do talk about being on the verge of civil war, and it's becoming less of something that we could joke about and more of a reality. So from what you saw, do you think there's any way this country is going to come together as one and say, we have different beliefs on these things, but let's hold this country together?
Yeah. That's a big question. There's a couple of things. I think, honestly, I think the movement needs a good leader to head up the let's make a change. Let's get beyond this. And what are some great solutions? We kind of need another MLK, in my opinion, somebody to just, this is how we're going to do this, and to motivate people to do good and to bring on that change and to get the sides talking and stuff. But then, I don't know, maybe this is my naive mind or whatever, but in my head, I feel like, honestly, Democrat, Republican, like, in a sense, I feel like we all want the same thing. Like, I don't know conservatives that like are, really want police brutality or whatever. No, I feel like like you said before, I think the media is the one who's just feeding these into us. And like, you need to be angry, you need to do this. But I think everybody agrees that there needs to be a change. We need to find a solution to make sure that, equality across the board, and that these awful situations aren't happening again. What is the solution? I'm not sure, but I don't think if everybody sat down and thought about it, like they were really that divided, other than how they want us to be. And that's totally my opinion. But
that's a good point. And you're right. I never thought about that way. There isn't a leader on the Black Lives Matter and Antifa, definitely. If there is, who the hell knows what they are? And if their advice or their plan is to create more violence, well, I know for a fact violence breeds violence. Mm-hmm. That will always be the fact. Yeah.
The one person I could say that I actually did think gave a really good speech throughout all this, and I remember I mentioned it with Chris. I don't know if you saw it, but when Killer Mike, the rapper, spoke in Atlanta.
In Atlanta,
I thought everything he said was pretty spot on. Where he was saying, let's beat these people at the ballot box. Let's not burn our city down. This city has so many Black-owned businesses, female Black-owned businesses. What are you accomplishing by burning down our own city? I thought everything he said, I don't agree with the guy politically, but everything he said, I understood completely where he was coming from. So I thought he was a good voice. I honestly,
but he was also parts of him, and I checked that he was also again another Uncle Tom. Some of them came at him that way. Well, what do you mean we got to work with them? What do we?
Yeah,
mean?
well, yeah, people were pissed off that he worked with the governor, who was a Republican of the state, and who, why should that be a problem? But that's the only voice I could think of that I thought was at least saying something to kind of keep the peace,
try to bring it together. You're right. I don't think that you can. The problems are ever going to be solved at the ballot box because I'm not getting politics anymore, but I don't think it's going to be because both sides want it to be divisive. There hasn't been a contest where it's not just been divisive with the person they're so awful. This person is so awful. Mm-hmm. And from what you said though, I completely agree with that. Having somebody that can focus where the energy needs to be instead of more violence. And there really isn't. And aside from what Ian said, I don't know anybody else either. And it was just brief and then it was gone. What's it? I always call him Magic Mike. It's not
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike, man. But then it was gone. But I completely agree with that. Will there be though? I don't know. I think the politicians and the parties, they thrive and they make money. And we've seen it. I've seen it just in social media, just on posts. And when I used to have foundation that was political, and now I have a foundation. I don't have that anymore. Now my foundation just helps. I've seen money raised, and money raised is 10 times higher political foundations than it is on a foundation to help some veteran police officer, family member to through a hard time. It's money driven, and I agree with you. I agree with you. I know I took over the mic again, but Julie, you awesome insight, and because I just really I didn't ever think of it, and that's the stupidest thing in the world that I didn't. Man, she's right. There really isn't been a focal point on that other side to try to focus their energies to stay positive and not burn everything down.
Sweet. Mic drop.
And you know what? I'll throw this out there, and I don't know if you want to add to it, but the media, of course, is going to focus on the stuff that you saw that was extremely violent. That's what gets ratings. But at least where I am here on Long Island, and I think you said the same thing where you are, Chris, in Omaha. Yeah. The protests that I saw in my own, neighborhood were relatively peaceful, actually completely peaceful. I didn't see any violence here. Of course, New York City, ton of violence.
We had that gentleman, there was a bar owner of the Hive that his bar was attacked and he ended up shooting one of the protesters, killing him. He was actually found not guilty. And then they came back again. Oh, you had stuff on your cell phone. This could have been racial related. And the Kara Eastman, awful. She ran for office. She lost. Terrible. And another politician here named Justin Wayne. He lives and I live in North Omaha, guys. So if you're in Omaha, eat shit. I live where these people are. But they found something on his phone that went to a grand jury, and they were going to now re-indict him for manslaughter. And he killed himself. He committed suicide. So now we have 2 deaths. So to say at the beginning, I didn't think so, but you know how much I'm in the news, Ian. I'm just 2 weeks behind everything because people have to tell me. But it turned out that at the beginning there was some here, and it wasn't like DC or Baltimore or Philadelphia or Portland, but we did have a little bit here, and that was the one incident where it turned out tragically for everybody. Yeah. And it was really, it was all horseshit. All could have been avoided. So. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to end up on a sad story. Yeah. Find us something, Julie. Give us something good to finish up on. Some happy story. And actually, the children's books, for you to write this and then the children's books. That's why I want to have you on. It's like, man, this woman is amazing, and she writes children's books. So you're not getting some crazy alpha male outlandish story when she's writing it out. Towards the end now, you're done with all this. What is, besides the next books, what's going on next? And how are you going to do book tours, and how are you going to do book sales? And if they're going to be, where can you find you at? Those sort of things, if you're going to book signings and things like that. So give us a little bit, little snippet.
Well, real quick, to add to the good stories, there was good out there. I just wanted to clarify that too. I mean, there were people that were offering us water. There were people, and good water, not like,
Yeah. No. Yeah.
and we were sharing pizza with kids on the street that would pop up. And so there was the good. I just want to make sure that that's out there as well. But yeah, so my books, I'm not well today is November 6th, and we're up for pre-orders. So this next week everything will be open for pre-ordering on Tactical 16. That's Tactical 16, and we'll go live on the 12th. Everything will be open. It's on Amazon, but Tactical 16 is much better to buy from. Just support the small businesses, right? And but I have my website, juliamaki.com. I have Facebook page, Twitter. I'm working on that.
You still have Twitter? You still have a Twitter? Really?
Yeah, I have it here at Julia Maki, author on Twitter. Is the book, because I did see on Amazon, it's really an e-book on Amazon Kindle. Is it for print on Tactical 16?
Yes. So, and that just popped up yesterday, the e-book, but it will have all of it, the hard covers, the soft covers, and we're going to put it on the Chris Pronto's website.
That's what we'll do it like I do with great books I think people should read. We have Gunny Bustler's book going up on there, John 15:13, and now Julia's book. So, and we'll have all that information on ChrisTonerPrano.com with the books that can be paired with the 3 books that I have, or again, we'll push you over so they have all your site, so they can just go by. So I don't want Tono's books. Those things suck, but at least they're on there, and you can go to Julia's site and get your book, and they're going to be signed. Every book that we have that I have on my site, and I know Julia, she's a sweetheart. If you ask her to personalize a book, it will. But everything that I have on our site with the 13 hours and pairing with all the books, they're all going to be signed. So no, I definitely want people to read your book. It's another one which we've had 2 in a row now with yours and Gunny Bustler's that people really need to read to get them back in the right mindset, puts perspective back in people's lives and gets them out of the crazy divisiveness that we need to pull people back away from.
Yeah, that's how we grow, right? Seeing a little perspective all over the place.
Yep.
100%. Yeah, so it's juliamaki.com. People will be hearing this Monday, so then you could pre-order right now when you hear it, because November 12th is when the book is actually officially out. Yeah. Guardians, Stories of the 2020 Civil Unrest in Washington, D.C. You can also check out all the children's books and other books that you've written, available everywhere, at Capturing the Story on Instagram, at Julia Maki, author on Twitter, juliamaki.com. I'll put links in the description. But this has been awesome, and it's great hearing your perspective on things. And also, as Chris said, hearing a perspective that you wouldn't normally think of as the person out there who's being the protector.
Yeah. Outstanding.
An old mother of 3 teenagers. And a book.
and tell them everybody how tall you are too. Got to throw that in there.
5'4" on a good day.
She's a monster, guys. I know you think it's so amazing. Do you have any? Do you have any pictures in the book? I don't know. My books don't have pictures, but So do you have a picture of you in your gear so they can see all? Oh, that's in itself right there. You should get the book just to see a 5'4" mama 3 that writes children's books in her own tactical gear out there. That's going to be awesome.
No, we have, I think I put about 16 pictures, because I was out there. There were so many picture worthy moments, and I tried to kind of capture them as much as I could while on duty, but
that's awesome.
Lots of good pictures.
You're awesome, Julia.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate you coming on, and Chris suggesting we have you on.
Thanks, Julie.
All right.
Cool. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Talk to you again soon.
Right.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to get into. It's funny. I wrote down stuff we were going to talk about during the intro, and we always end up talking about all different other things. But she was great. I really liked hearing from her, because I as I said, I value hearing from all these people who have been on the ground, and I'd probably like to get one of my NYPD guys on to talk about it as well. Because you probably will learn something that you haven't heard before. And I'm certainly hoping we don't see more of these situations. I think there are people, honestly, stoking the fires for civil war. It's the last thing I want to see.
And I still don't see, and that's just how I always am. I don't see a civil war. I don't. You may see people, and this is bad enough. You may see people like we did in Denver with the security guard that shot the guy that maced it. Little pockets of idiots doing, and I'm gonna call you idiots doing idiotic shit. But to see a full civil war, no, I think people are smarter than that. But are we going to see people hurting each other, maybe shooting each other within these riots on these sides and things? Yeah, I think we will, because humans are humans, and a human individually, and we've said this before on the show, is smart, uses common sense, can make reasonable decisions. When humans come together as a crowd, we are freaking morons for the most part, and we do stuff that we would never do on our own. And that's the problem. You're bringing people in, and you're right. People are already stoking the fire, and yeah, somebody's going to get. And will that lead to something? Maybe, or maybe, as a great country that we are, people like we, and I see more of it, are like, okay, it's enough. This is enough. This is ridiculous. All right, and just live your life, and just live well, and take care of each other, but mind yourself and be the best person that you can be, and stay out of all this shit. You can be successful in whatever you do as long as you work hard. And success doesn't have to equate to being financially rich, financially well off. It can be just being good, feeling good about yourself. Bro, I think the only way to do it is just keep having people like Julie on. Yourself, you're always out there promoting positive stuff. I do my best to do that as well. Yeah, of course. And that's how it will get better. It's just people, just normal people like us out there just going, okay, guys, have you had enough? Yeah, this is stupid. And if those that still want to get in the fights and get in the arguments, fine, go have it. Go argue all you want in the middle of your cities. But is it really making any difference? No, it's just, you're just destroying your cities, first of all. But second of all, you're just pissing people off, and you're just creating more dissension. It's not going to help any. And having a civil war, all that does is it's going to turn us. It destroys infrastructures. It destroys futures. It's not like we're the Civil War. Nothing good will come of a civil war. And
also I don't even know, what the sides would be. I actually heard an interesting thing from. Well, here's the thing, because I heard an interesting thing Ron Bennington said on Faction Talk. And Ron is definitely not a conservative, right? Ron is pretty left, definitely left of center. But what he said was true. If you look at like the electoral map, and this is as political as I'm going to get this show, and it's not political. This is just a point of the demographics of the country. If you look at the map, he said this, not me, we really don't have blue states and red states. We have a red country and blue cities. Meaning, like, if you look at New York, how New York voted. I know sometimes you have this perspective because you're in Nebraska and you're like, oh, New York, Biden. But not really. New York City voted for him. I think it was Syracuse and Albany, and everywhere else in New York went for Trump, including like where I am right here. Now, that's not to talk about the politics of it, but it's just the point that what would the Civil War be? It would be like where I am at war with New York City. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I don't know. We have cities that think a certain way, and you say it yourself, man. In Omaha, thinks very differently from the rest of Nebraska.
No, it is, and you saw that. I from my and I turned my phone. Honestly, my phone was getting blown up during election night, and I don't want to answer. I just turned the thing off. But there was a friend, I don't know who it was. I can't remember. Said, "Oh, wait!" When I turned my phone on the next day, first thing that pops up, "Oh, what Nebraska wants Biden?" I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I said, "I don't get into this shit." And then I asked my wife, Tan. I said, "What's going?" Because I asked her, I was like, "What's going on?" She goes, "Oh, Biden won an electrical seat here." Well, where was it? It was in Omaha. It was in a little section of Omaha where I live. That's North Omaha. And okay, so the rest of I don't care, guys. I really don't. But the rest of Nebraska still is Trump, and it's all rural. And you're right. So where would these things be? Yeah, they would be. They would be in the cities. They would be drawn out. And I'm telling you, urban conflict is not something that is very pretty, and it's a meat grinder. And guys, you don't want it. Nobody wants it. I don't want that. And all it does is make this country like every other country in the world. And not saying that there's not good places out there. You see the pictures I sent from Afghanistan on my Instagram account. Afghanistan is one of the most beautiful countries in the world, but nobody will see it, because it is in such turmoil for wars over and over and over, and civil wars, and they still have open sewers in their cities. That's what wars do. It destroys infrastructures, and you can't drink the water out of the tap because you'll get dysentery. You have to drink bottled water. You can't even brush your teeth with it. That is what a war does. And to say, "Oh, let's have a civil war," you're idiots. Y'all are. All right. If you don't go, I got an idea. We'll put a little area that's 100 by 100 meters, or we'll do it one click. So 1 meter, 1 click by 1 click, and we'll throw all you on there, and you guys can go have it out like the gladiators. How about that? And I want to still go get my Starbucks at Target. So
yeah, exactly. And it's doing, like I said, yoga last night. I'm like, I think more people need this, whether it's meditation or yoga. They need something.
Or CBD oil.
Yeah, CBD from that.
I'm being serious.
Offer code Battleline. Yeah. No, it's true, man. I really do think people need to escape with nature, get out of their minds and kind of into their body more. This all sounds probably very hippie-ish, and I don't really care because you'll hear from the same guys who are warriors on the show, like Leo Jenkins. Like
you're gonna hear from he's
an absolute badass. Yeah, and you too, man. And I think people realize that. It's just, yeah, man. I want to see more people take time to be the best version of themselves, whatever that means for them. Everybody's gonna have a different idea of what that means for them, but I think if you are occupied with bettering yourself, being good to your family, then you're not going to be so occupied with all this stuff. And people wonder why you're not so occupied with it, and that's the reason why.
And it doesn't do anything for you. When I was involved for those 2 years, which I was, and I honestly, I don't regret it. I could have done better use of my time. But when I was the most miserable person, and I was the worst person I ever have been in my life. I mean, just as a person. And that was my experience being involved in politics. The world's going to turn, guys. No matter who's in charge, it's going to turn. And as long as we have work here, which we do, as long as people continue to live and we can go out to the state parks and go camping, go out. I'm a spiritual runner. Go run every day. We're going to be fine. And you can find work, and you'll find a way to make ends meet. We always do. And everybody does, as long as their focus is to always improve. And I agree with you, brother. Nature is awesome. I said, that's why I get out and run. I don't care if it's 30 below. If I need to get out and run and be around the trees, even in a city, you can find a place, the pier. I mean, some of the best places to run are in a city. I remember running Chelsea Pier. I loved running Chelsea Pier. That was so awesome, getting out there and seeing everything. And it still is so therapeutic because you're out in the fresh air and you're out just taking the beauty of everything in. And that's why Julia's story was great. That's why I asked her about that night where she was on MLK, the memorial, after all that craziness. Because I remember so many nights that after the craziness, whether it was in Lashkar, whether it was in Baghdad, whether it was in Benghazi, whether it was in Tripoli, when chaos ended and it all got quiet, because there's always that peace, looking around and just taking the beauty of what God gave us, the stars, or whatever you want to believe in, guys, nature, Mother Earth. It doesn't matter to me. Just seeing all that beauty out there and how lucky we are to experience that beauty. But brother, we got to quit pissing that away. People got to realize that. And like I said, you're tremendous on that as well. Being back at a trainer, you get to see that, and you get to push people and actually push them into that realm, which is great. Being a trainer.
I really missed it, and it was not even about the money. One of the women I train, I learned like her husband died a few months before I started training her, and wow. She's like, "This is what I look forward to every day I see you." And to me, that's way more rewarding than anything.
It's awesome.
Yeah, man. Anything else interesting going on with you coming up? Because I know the next couple weeks you're out, but are there courses or?
Yeah, well, we're getting. I've got one in Fort Worth. We've got, if you want to get in there on a slot, it's closed, but we can always take a couple more. But it's Fort Worth at Fender Outdoors. But that's all 3 of us that you're going to get. Yes, with Benny Gloss will be there again. Everybody that trains with Benny loves training with Benny. Same with Ben Morgan. And then myself. And it's a great time in Fort Worth. It really is. If you've never been to Fort Worth around Thanksgiving, you need to go. The way they decorate it, and I hope they do still again this year, even with the hibbity-bibbity virus going on. I love calling it.
I know you do. You never get told to you.
I can't do it. I humor myself. I make myself. That's how simple I am. But if you ever been to Fort Worth during Thanksgiving, you should, because they have a huge tree down in the center. Fort Worth actually is a really pretty little city, and if you're a runner, if that's one of your meccas, you got to go run Fort Worth. There's so many places to go jogging around. So that's a good one to end up on, just because the course is fun. It honestly is very laid back. We have some great people that come through it. But then when we end the day, just being in Fort Worth around that time of year is honestly therapeutic in itself. Just the way they decorate it, getting ready for Christmas. It's beautiful. They have a beautiful tree down in the main area, and then you can get out their sites, and you can go see they have the Kennedy Memorial there, and there's if you want to go to Gillies, you can find out, get out there, find Gillies, and go to a lot of the honky tonk bars. I think they're going. I think Texas is kind of open as long as you adhere to the mask rule. So it's fun.
So if someone wants to get on there last minute, how would they do it?
Just go to ChrisTanoParano.com, and you'll see the Battleline drop down, and just click on Battleline, and there'll be, it may say sold out, but you'll see an email for Tanos. It's called the tontos.swag@gmail.com. Email that and just say, hey, is there a slot open for the course? And I'll see it, and Roger will get you in. We can probably get a couple more in. I think 2 is max. So 2 is really where we're at 30, and then we're gonna have to shut it down, because that's when the training dips. After 30 people, the training starts to dip because you just can't spend as much time.
Yeah. So if someone is listening to this is your chance. If you're listening to it the day it comes out, wrapping things up here, Fort Scott Munitions, which you'll be shooting on the range, is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition that is designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military-grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self-defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you're going to receive the same results with each pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout privately owned businesses in all 50 states, as well as direct online through FortScottMunitions.com. People who've been on the show are now converted to shooting with the Fort Scott. Jason Piccolo, current and former law enforcement, and you see him on Court TV now. He's doing Court TV regularly. Whistleblower. He is a believer now in Fort Scott Munitions, so he knows his stuff, as do a lot of the other people. We'll have him back on at some point, I'm sure. Use our exclusive promo code Battleline for 15% off your order through FortScottMunitions.com. Fort Scott, MUNITIONS.com, just like to spell it out, not ammunition, munitions. And link will be in bio. Only available to our listeners. Once again, FortScottMunitions.com. Promo code Battleline. They keep us going. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Paranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know someone is going to bitch that they're going to say, why didn't you talk about election fraud? And you and I were just like, what are we going to say that hasn't been said?
Yeah, exactly. Fraud, it's rampant, guys. But let's leave it at that. Until we go back to just voting at the polls again, flashing an ID, we're going to have it. So just live your life, you dummies. Now you're not dummies. What am I saying? That's not positive. Live your life. I'm the dummies. You guys are awesome. Just live your life. But if you want to bitch about voter fraud, don't, because that's all it's going to be, is bitching.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I just like this to be kind of a haven for other things, I guess. And we have some great guests coming on. I'm especially looking forward to Jeff DePazzi, former JTF2, which is Elite Special Operations in Canada, assaulter and sniper. So he's going to be really cool to have on. And as I've said in a previous episode, some of the best shots are Canadian guys like Rob Furlong.
No, they have a tremendous. People don't realize they have a tremendous special operations team. They have the CanSoft guys are awesome, and they're great dudes. And they can drink about as good as the damn Australian SAS guys. Those guys can put some stuff down. I worked and lived with them in Kandahar Gecko Base, and they were great guys, tremendous guys.
All right, man. So I guess with that, I will hit the outro music, Never Giving Up, about which we don't say enough, by Mark Slaughter.
Yes.
Because people always wonder. They're like, what is this music at the end? This like drill sergeant at the end.
Slaughter.
That's all. Yeah, that's Mark. Dude, I don't know what's up with him. There are times I text Mark and I hear from him. There are times I just radio silence. I want to get him on at some point because he's a great dude, super big supporter of the military, and just also I love Slaughter. I'm just a super fan of theirs. So
he's been there, done that so many times since how long has his career been going on, man?
Yeah, not really. I was gonna say 1990, but Vinnie Vincent's invasion was like 86. So yeah, we'll get him on at some point, I'm sure. We have a lot of people we have to get on. Just the guest list never ends of people we want on this show. So I'm not blowing anyone off. We'll make it all happen.
We'll get it.
Yeah. Anything else? I always feel like maybe I'm forgetting something, but I don't know.
No, I think we got everything. Everybody's been great, and again, just everybody, thank you again. Thank you for listening, and I thought we had a great guest. Actually,
Julie was great.
Yep, she did a fantastic job. So. I get. You know what? There is and it's been out for about a year, but I haven't pushed it because they're on a distributor. But I'll be putting up on a website. You have to actually go to the distillery right now till we get a distributor for it. But I've got my own vodka.
And you know what's funny? You spoke about this on the first show, and it's a year. Yeah. It's exactly 1 year later. And it's happening.
It's good. It's got the label's awesome. I was like, man, that label's badass, and it's good. It's really good vodka. But I'll have that up on my website. But right now, until we get a distributor, which we're working on, man, Ian knows how I am as far as business stuff. I'll get to it, and I'll get to it. But
you did get to the mic, or your
wife? My wife did. We'll get you have to go down to Dalton Distillery to pick it up right now because of liquor laws, but. We're working on getting the distributor. Ben Morgan is helping me on that. It's it really was his brainchild. And we just happened to, again, something that like the podcast and like Battleline Tactical, not something I really planned on doing. I just did it, and it will be successful like everything else because we just do it and have fun. So, Tano's vodka, it's going to be competing against Tito's. I'm coming for you, Tito's. and the bottle's awesome. It's good. It's good vodka. And as soon as we get a distributor, we'll put more out on the podcast of liquor stores you can pick it up. I'm just learning all these liquor laws and how to navigate them. So, but we're working on it. But right now you can pick it up at Dalton Distillery in Georgia, but you have to actually go there to the distillery in Georgia to pick it up.
That's cool though. That's almost like special item. You can make the trek. As the outro says, never give up. Don't let yourself stand in your way. Mark says it best.
That's all for this episode of the Battleline podcast, but we'll be back on Monday with more American Straight Talk. Until then, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Battleline Podcast and on Twitter at Battleline Pod. To sign up for future Battleline tactical courses, go to www.christantoperanto.net. Believe in yourself, face all challenges head on, and as always, never quit.